So as we were cutting hay the other day, a tractor hit one of the risers on this irrigation line, and unfortunately it broke down at the T connector. So normally if we had a little hiccup like this, we hope that it breaks in this area so that we can just make a cut and put a fix on. You can already see that we've done that before, but unfortunately this time it snapped off right at the T. So we've got a 6-inch irrigation line with a T reducer up to 4 inches that brings it up above ground, and we're gonna have to figure out how to fix this today. First step was to clear out some room to work. So we dug a little pit, cleared that pipe out. We want to give ourselves plenty of room so we can get tools and hands and people down in there. I just like to do that when we have the luxury of that, because laying on your stomach and trying to reach down and get things done just doesn't work as well. So we brought the little backhoe out and cleared out some space for us. We've assembled this next assembly. So I've got my T connector in there. I've got a little extension here because we're going to need this for the coupler. And I've got everything all fabricated again back in the shop, ready to plug in. First step, we're going to cut this T out. I need to remove it, and I need to remove it in such a way that I've got a little bit of extra room so that I can slide that this slip cover on. When we come to drop this in, we're going to need about, whatever this is, about 3 inches, 4 inches of space here to slide onto the existing piece. So we're going to cut the T off right about here, and then we need to measure and make sure that our extension right here has that extra space that we need to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and take some measurements, make these cuts, and then hopefully we'll drop this thing right in there. Okay, so we've got our section cut out. Took our time with the cut, made good measurements. If you don't have a PVC saw blade, I use the Sawzall here with a metal blade. Works pretty well. Just take your time and make nice clean cuts. Sometimes this older PIP can crack on you, and those wood blades just don't really work so well. This is our 6-inch coupler that we got from the local supply store. Pretty easy. There's 2 rubber gaskets that go on the insides, both ends there, and then you slide it on, get it installed on the existing piece so that I can drop this piece in. We'll then take that and slide it back over, crank it down, have a good seal. So next step is to get this coupler just loosely placed on there. Thing apart and put all the pieces on individually. It just goes a lot easier. So we got that end cap, the rubber gasket, connector piece. On the other side we got our other rubber gasket end cap. Once I get this in place, we'll install those bolts back on. Yeah, but first we're gonna take this and glue it, prime it, glue it, make sure it's level, and then we'll work on tying that connector back together. Okay, we've got our new connector, new T, glued in there. It's nice and level. Everything looks good. Now all we have to do is slide this connector on, put the bolts back in, and give it a tighten down. I like to use a little bit of Dawn dish soap and some water. Just really helps get this lubricated, and that gasket just moves around a little better. So we'll get this slid into place and crank it down. Okay, got that roughed in, and now ready to start clamping down. We're just gonna go with a socket and a wrench and tighten these nuts, and that'll squeeze everything together, and we'll hope for a good seal. Repair is all completed. Everything's glued in place. We're nice and level. Get these clamps on nice and tight. Went around really slowly, and just make sure that we're tightening evenly. We want to get that rubber gasket nice and evenly spaced all the way around. So there's just 4 lag bolts here, and so I just went around those nice and slow, and we're gonna let this cure and dry for a little bit. The label says 30 minutes. I like to give it a couple hours before we put any pressure on it. So we'll fire up the pump in a couple hours and double check, make sure there's no drips or leaks.